practice.
Okay, once again, my name is Danny Ron. I'm the Code Compliance Manager for the department. We cover solid waste, animal control, code enforcement for the city of Deltona. It's a very big city. I think we're just under 100,000 residents here in the city. It keeps us busy all day long. I do have 2 shifts. One shift is Sunday through Wednesday and Wednesday through Saturday. So we out there 7 days a week. Some holidays, yes, we make it mandatory for everybody to be off. But pretty much, if it's a regular holiday, like the one we just had on Monday, we flex. We still have people out there addressing code stuff and animals. We provided that service for the city and for the customers and the residents of the city of Deltona. My supervisor here, Marion Laracy, she's going to do the presentation. So just bear with us. We put it down for an hour. I don't think it's going to take an hour, but we're going to open it up so if you have any questions. And I think she won't have no problems if you have questions during the presentation, if it's falls under that subject, and she can answer those for you. Thank you.
Hello, like you said, my name is Marion Laracy. I'm one of the supervisors for the shift. I am the supervisor from Sunday through Wednesday. And like he explained, we do have 2 different shifts. Our code compliance department, we have a staff that are dual certified for animal control and code enforcement. So that way we can address everything at once when we're on site at handling violations out there. City of Deltona has local ordinances that are set in place. This is to help with public safety, welfare, and maintain the public health. And, you know, it also property values, want to make sure property values are staying intact. Ordinance exists for a wide variety of issues, including parking, building permits, and we also, since we are dual certified, as I explained, we do animal control, and there's a lot of animal cruelty cases out there that we have to address. So we are certified to do that. Code compliance, I'm not sure if he mentioned, but we do operate 2 different ways, proactive and reactive. So complaint-based, if residents have any issues with any code violations or animal ordinance, they can contact us. And our officers are out there driving around looking for proactive cases for codes. Any loose dogs, too, that we see.
Before you continue, Mary, can anybody just put a complaint in?
City of Deltona residents. Yeah, we can do it online. You can call the front desk. If it's after hours, like on the weekend and we're not open, you just call the main number and it'll send you over to central dispatch, and they can send an officer out to handle it. There's a couple different ways that those complaints will get addressed and sent over to our officers. And like he explained, we're a little bit short of 100,000 people in the city. We are the largest city in Volusia County, so that's a lot. That's a lot. We're about 41 square feet miles, and like he said, we do operate 7 days a week. We do have animal control that are available after hours for emergencies only, sick or injured. We handle some bite cases after hours if need be. There's certain circumstances that we will go out for animal calls after hours. So right now we have our city's divided into 5 different zones. We have 8, including me, officers on each shift. There's 5 since there's 5 zones, there's an officer for each zone. Plus we have 2 additional officers on each shift that handles with, they're called proactive officers, and they basically do the commercial properties, the main thoroughfares, the vacant lots, things like that, the bigger cases, if you will, the commercial properties.
I could see you.
So are you talking about like for permits?
Yeah.
So we don't do the inspections for permits.
Okay.
That would be our building inspectors that go out and check that. So no.
Violation, you might show up on
Right, if there is a violation where the shed is on, and and it is not falling down or not in the right spot on the property because there are setbacks and so on and so forth, then code enforcement will get involved, and if we see an animal issue out there, we can address that. And we do handle all violations that are on the property, so if we see multiple violations,
You could tell, spot 5, 6, 7 different.
yes, the potential is there.
You know, when I have called about that, I have been told that you really don't have enough officers to be proactive, that we really need to be the ones that are, you know, letting you know.
Mhm.
If a property's been posted, for instance, and they have 24 hours to correct it,
Mhm.
that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get back in 24 hours, so that it would behoove us to be part of the solution rather than.
Well, I definitely encourage the citizens to, put in their complaints if you do have a concern about a violation at a certain property in the city. Definitely encourage you. I'm not saying that you have to or you need to, because we do have officers. Now, again, keep in mind, it's a large city, and there's just a handful of us out there. So, trying to maintain all of those roads and deal with, all of the cases that we have, it does take time for us to handle all of the violations that are out there. But again, complaints are encouraged, yes.
Are you fully staffed?
We are fully staffed.
And that just changed a couple of years ago. They did a evaluation of the city, for the size of the city, and they recommended us to add to the officers. Because before, I think we only had 5 on each shift, and it wasn't enough to cover this bigger area. Once they had the numbers, just under 100,000 to cover this area. So right now, we are 7 officers, 1 supervisor on each shift. For 14 officers with 2 supervisors for both shifts. So it has improved. And one of the things they also did in the evaluation was the approach that we had.
So you have actually 28 officers, if you've got 14 per shift?
It's actually 7 per shift, 14 total officers, and 2 supervisors. One each. Yes.
Right. And they're, like I said, they're all code enforcement and animal control certified. But we have 2 on each shift that mainly do the main thoroughfares, signs, night signs, and commercial properties. So they're not, they kind of stay away from those inner streets.
And what's very helpful too, this is our first presentation for this Code Compliance 101. So if you see something, maybe something on the PowerPoint, that way we can fix it, because it looks like we're going to be doing this more often. Getting the word out there about what we do for the community. We want to make sure everything is covered. So help us out with this if you can.
Well, main thoroughfares in commercial properties. So is that being proactive, or are you responding to?
It's both, proactive and reactive. We get a lot of cases also from our fire marshal when she goes out there and does her fire inspections. And if she sees any code violations, she does turn those cases over to us to handle. That's one way that we get our commercial property cases. But we are both proactive and reactive with commercial. So, this is the 5 zones that I had mentioned earlier. As you can see, we have Sunday through Wednesday, Wednesday through Saturday, and then the top officer where you see Zone 2, Steve and Janice, they're the Sunday through Wednesday and the Wednesday through Saturday. So there's an officer for each zone. And then you have our proactive, which is our code-only officers, our main thoroughfares and commercial property. We have the 4. So it's a pretty big stretch that they have to cover. When we do go out and address violations, this is our initial contact. We try to make contact with the resident if we see a violation. If not, then we leave this door hanger. Typically, we leave a door hanger no matter what if we make contact, because it's good information for them to know what ordinance there is in violation and how to correct it. On the back side of this, with the picture's not there, the officer leaves their name and phone number in case there's contact, in case they need a contact. But the list on this courtesy notice is just kind of a few of the main ordinances that we have to deal with: tall grass and weeds, improper parking, no permits, commercial vehicles, like tractor cabs, things like that, those we deal with quite a lot. So that's why they're on the door hanger, because we deal with those commonly. So we do start with the door hanger, try to give them time to comply. Typically we start out with a week, depending on the situation, what the violation is. If there's multiple violations, we'll give them more time. And we try to work with them on time. If no compliance has been met, then we move forward with the next appropriate action, which would be a notice of the violation or an abatement notice, depending on what the violation is. If it's lot maintenance, that we have to get a contractor to go out and cut the grass, and that would be the abatement notice. And that's just something that we post on the property to let the resident know that, you know, we're trying to make contact with you. We left you the door hanger. We haven't heard from you. This is now noticed where we're going to have a contractor come in and do it. And that gives them 7 days, another 7 days to comply once that notice is done.
This is what we call the official notice, which we also send certified mail to the property owner listed on the property appraiser's record.
Yes.
Under Volusia County.
That's the white letter that gets stuck on the garage door.
Yeah, the garage door or the front door, yes. Mm-hmm.
When you do give a notification, do you give them suggestions on how it can be corrected so that they can come into compliance?
Absolutely. On the notice, there is the violation, actual violation, and the corrective action. So, and a phone number there, so they can always reach out to us if they have questions about, you know, how they can comply. If there's other inventive ways that they can comply, whether it's an in-op car, can they put it in the garage? Yes, you can. You know, if it's an in-op car, can I put it in my backyard? No, you can't. So, you know, they can definitely reach out to us once notice has been posted on the property.
And that one, the official notice is very specific for the violation. Like this one's a very generic one. You know, we try to put the most common violations on this one. You know, that way we only have one type of notice to drop off. And we're hoping after we drop this off, we get compliance. Just right here, the first section is the condition, the violation, what the violation is. The second one kind of states this is what we reference, the city ordinance. And then the last portion is how to correct it. Very small, you know, like we said, we put that phone number on there and the name, whoever the officer was that was out there. We're hoping they call us so we give them better direction, give them more information on how to voluntary compliance is what we call.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we want. We don't want to do that other stuff. But again, you know, if they do come into compliance, obviously we just close out our case. If, again, the property does not come into compliance once we left that notice, there's times where we do have to get the contractor to go out and mow the grass or remove the trash and the debris or the junk car that's, you know, sitting out there in the driveway. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I wonder if our population of senior citizens,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are, they say, strapped,
Mm-hmm.
make it to the end of the month. If they run into a problem, health-wise or whatever, where they end up having a violation such as yard maintenance, is city have contacts where they can put the needed senior with, let's say, a helper or a volunteer organization to help them bring into compliance?
So we have worked with a church, local church, and they reach out to either their parishioners, and they can go out and help the citizen as far as cutting a lawn. And I'm all for it. We try to help them out as far as reaching out, especially for a situation like that where it is a senior citizen who is in financial, you know, they're drowning somehow, some way, and they just can't get it out there, or their mower broke or something. So yes, we will definitely reach out to a church or some situation like that.
Because it's one thing for a 20-year-old who's too
Sure.
lazy to cut his grass and an 80-year-old who can't.
Right. And that's why we hope to get the communication from the citizen. You know, that we hope that they call us, because if you're telling me that this is a situation, then we'll be more than happy to work with you on time and try to help you get this you know, this situation corrected.
Yeah, I always felt government is supposed to be working with the citizens, not against them.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, we prefer voluntary compliance. Yes.
I'm gonna pass this around if y'all have a question, makes it a little bit
Yeah,
easier.
communication is
That would be
key. You know, communicating with the officers, communicating with the supervisors is key, you know, with working together on trying to resolve the issues at hand. So, and we try to explain that. If, like I mentioned, if the violation, you know, continues and corrective action has not been met, we do contact the contractor to have the lawn mowed or the trash and debris picked up or whatever the situation is at that property. If it's a violation for where it's a roof in disrepair or no permit for a shed, and they haven't done it yet, and we've given them plenty of time, we do work with these people. I mean, a lot of times we have cases out for months and months and months at a time to get the permits, you know, because we do know that some cases there's permits require engineer drawings, and you know, you have to get a survey, and we know that getting a survey is not easy nowadays. It's expensive too. So we do work with the citizens as far as allowing them to have the time. Again, communication is key. So we try to avoid going to magistrate, but if that's not the case, and say it's a vacant home, you know, and we can't get a hold of the property owner, they're in another state, we go before magistrate. And even at that point, magistrate does provide the property owner more time, whether it be another 90 days or 60 days or 30 days to comply before the fines are set. So, and then once those time frame has come by and compliance has not been met, and unfortunately fines get set to the property. So.
When you have a repeat offender, when you have a repeat offender, and we can go online and see that there's been like 40 different reports, and he finally does comply, and like Jim mentioned, the neighbors have offered to help and has been declined. It's very frustrating, and we've often wondered, is there anything that ever takes place with a repeat offender? I mean, apparently they finally do the maintenance until 2 or 3 months later, it's just as bad as it was, and it's reported again. And presumably you guys do the door hanger and the notice of abatement. I've never seen a door hanger. It's usually always a notice of abatement. So presumably he is not taking notice of the hanger.
Yeah, no. And sometimes with repeat offenders, depending on how often we've gone out there in the 12-month time span, we won't even leave a door hanger. We'll just go right to the paper. You know, the initial contact is the door hanger. If we're going back out there, you know, 3-4 months later, and we're going out there for the same violation, we just do a paper at this point. Because, you know, they already know what the violation is. They know how to correct. Now, that's not to say that that paper is not giving them time to correct, which it is. It does give them the time, the adequate time to be that's needed to correct. Again, communication is key. You know, if they're calling and saying, you know, I can't get my guy out to cut my lawn, I need another day or two, we'll allow that. We will allow that.
That's actually a good question. They already know, you know, they got the courtesy before. Why give them courtesy again? We go straight to the paper, and that is the official notice that we are required to post the property or hand deliver for us to take the next step, either the special magistrate or go onto the property and debate the nuisance on the property.
when you send the contractor out, and you have done that. When you send the contractor out, and you have done that on a couple of properties that I'm aware of because our neighborhood watch gets the questions about it, how is that fine? Does that go on their tax bill, or is that a lien that does not have to be paid until they actually sell the property, in which case they can go forever with all of these liens that have been a fine given to them?
We understand that. I'll answer that. It automatically becomes a lien once the process is completed, because once we receive the bill from the contractor, we record documentation. That way we have it on record that there's a lien on the property. We can put in a lien, if I think the number is $1,500 or more, we can put it on the tax roll. Sure. But it has to be approved by a property appraiser person in charge of property appraisal for us to do so. So we kind of have to show the history, we've been there numerous times, and we would love to put this on there. Please allow us to do so. So we have to kind of do a presentation whenever these situations do come up, so we could put them on the property. And they accepted our presentations lately, and this just started maybe just a couple of years ago when it comes to the tax roll thing. So it's been working for us, and we're going to continue doing it. But I think we have to meet that number, which don't get me. It's 1,500 from my understanding. Anything over 1,500, we can put it on the tax roll. Is anything less, we cannot. But there'll still be a lien on the property. Does that answer your question? No. Oh.
Probably because I just don't understand your terminology. So it's going to go on the tax roll, and so on the thing that we just got in the mail a couple of days ago that talks about what the proposed tax is going to be, is it going to be on that? Or is it going to be showing up when he sells his house eventually?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is different. So like it has to meet the criteria. One of the criteria is it has to be, and I'll verify this before we end this meeting here, $1,500. So if the abatement, if the city had to pay $1,500 for the contract to go onto the property and clean up the property, we can put it on the tax roll. When this happens, yes, we have to get it approved by the property appraisers, the person in charge of that. And if let's say we get that approved, it gets put on the tax. So every year when they have to pay the taxes, that's added in there.
Just theirs, though.
Just theirs.
Not everybody, just
Not
not
everybody's.
property owners. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's on there, yes. So it gets added on that next year's taxes. So whatever taxes they pay for that year, this lien is going to be added to that.
Right.
And if they don't,
You guys come out though. I mean, the last time that happened, last year, there were 2 Deltona trucks out there cleaning up. So do you sometimes send out your own?
No.
So that must have been contractors who were out there doing it.
do you have a street? I know most of the major,
Lynn River?
it sounds familiar, but I cannot remember if that's one of them.
1970 Lynn River.
1970 Lid River. It is not, I know we've done that
Was
one.
that the pool and the RV, and that was a couple of years ago, right? Was that that one?
I can verify that by the end of this meeting. Just check on that.
Oh, was
one.
that the tree debris, right? Was that
That's the one with the tree debris.
Dead trees, and he cut them down, and was that the one? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so
He's a disgrace.
it would have been our contractor that have gone out there. Now, we do have, the officer meets the contractor to take before pictures and after pictures and to make sure what they're picking up is what we're asking them to remove. But we ourselves don't go out there and do the job. What's that?
Cleaned everything else up, and there's still a broken light pole that's all rusty, and I thought, well, they didn't get that.
Yeah, it's in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't take that. Yeah, you can't take that.
I'm going to write this one down. So it's 1970 Lid River.
I mean, one of the neighbors was ready to move. She was so frustrated with having to look at that every day for years. I've never met him personally.
I've never met him. I've been there, and they don't answer the door.
And as for the amount, I don't think he's met the $1,500 abatement for us to put it on the tax roll. Because those are the ones stands out when I have to submit that.
Because you can talk about finding him, but there's nothing that's gonna. Why bother? Because the city's not gonna do anything.
Well, I mean, we go on there
Well,
and we do remove the nuisance, the debris, the grass, we can take care of the debris. As for the other stuff, let's just say there's a light, is it a light post? That should be a cold case. Any electrical appliance, that light post, it should be operational, and if we can't remove it, should be taking it to the special magistrate. So I'll take a look at this property and assign somebody to check that out.
It's gotta be exhausting for you guys, because it's exhausting for us. And he's young, he could take care of that himself, he's not old.
We see that a lot, people that are capable of doing it, but they don't cut the grass,
And he's been offered, he has an electric vehicle, he cares enough
Well, this is one of the examples that we've had to deal with doing an abatement, and this was one that ended up on the tax roll for obvious reasons. It was a lot of, so, no, this was not on Normandy. So we are out there, we get complaints, if we have, this was pretty obvious because you could see in the side of the yard there, we kept getting numerous complaints. They were scrappers, so I think we've been out there 3 times this year for the same nuisance. They just keep coming with stuff. So I think they finally got the hint. But no, this is one that would end up on the tax roll. So, but this is a situation where there's, again, property values, it's unsanitary, the fire could happen, emergency services would have to be able to get in on there and they can't. So, that's what we're here for, is for this, to help with this stuff in the neighborhood. So this was, I think, a 2-day job. And no, we did not do this. Our contractor did. Again, solid waste issues. We help Waste Pro with handling solid waste issues because Waste Pro is who we contract with. So if there's excessive bulk out there that Waste Pro, can't get without special claw truck, there's fees for that. And people just move and they do this. So, driving by, this is our, proactive job. We drive by and we see this. So we post the property with our abatement. When we do solid waste abatements that are in the right-of-way like this, that's actually a 24-hour notice. So they have 24 hours to correct this because this is a safety issue. Again, you have emergency services, kids getting to school, you don't want kids messing with this stuff. So this is important to have this out of the right-of-way. So we do give them 24 hours to have this gone. If not, then we do send Waste Pro, and that is one of the fines that they get on the property when Waste Pro goes out and picks something like this up. We try to give them the opportunity to contact Waste Pro themselves to schedule a pickup and pay the fee. Like mentioned before, improper parking, that seems to be a popular issue here. These are the things that we deal with on a regular basis: boats, RVs, in the front forward of the house, parking in the street, multiple vehicles in the front yard. These are all violations that we try to address. You can drive around Deltona and there's pretty much improper parking almost at every house. So that keeps us busy. But this is a popular one for us. Again, commercial properties. I'm sure you know about the famous gas station that was finally removed. Again, this is our job to go out there and handle any public safety issues with commercial properties. This was a big eyesore for a long time, so it took us a while to get there. It does take a while. There's a process, legal, paperwork, everything, so it takes a while for us to be able to just remove somebody's property. So now it looks good over there. Vacant lots, pretty important to us. We have quite a few people that just think they can just clear out a vacant lot without a permit, and you can't do that because you got critters out there like this that are endangered species that need to be managed before you go in and clear everything out. So we try to keep an eye on those vacant lots, especially now with all the growth that's happening. Contractors and they just kind of, or people who own the property just kind of I'm just going to clear it. You can't do that. So we try to make sure that the vacant lots are getting handled with permits. So again, animal cruelty, because we are dual certified, our officers are out there handling animal cases in addition to the code cases. So animal cases are a priority over code because you do have animals out there in this condition that we're dealing with. These cases we work with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office to help with the warrants, build the case. Sometimes we have to go before the judge to remove the animals, things like that. So it is, again, a legal process that we have to go through. But, ultimately we're able to, especially for cases like this, we're able to remove the dog or the animals. Hoarding cases, people who hoard animals, you know, we have to deal with those as well. We try to get them help because I know that sometimes that can be kind of a mental capacity situation for the person as far as owning animals. So we try to work with them and get them help. But in addition to, the animals are a priority for us, make sure they're getting the care as to what they need, for what they need. We help with the TNR program. We have volunteers that go out and trap the city stray and feral cats and work with the citizens. And we work with Halifax Humane Society. We have a couple of other vets that work with us, Spay and Save, and another one in DeBerry that work with us to get our kitties spayed and neutered. They come back with a tipped ear, and that's how they indicate that the cats have been spayed or neutered and vaccinated. Animals at large, it's every day. I don't know how to explain that, but we do get quite a few dogs at large. Again, it's a public safety issue. You've got dogs in the street that are running around, you know, people get into car accidents or they're trying to avoid the dog, things like that. So we are out there. If we get a complaint about a dog running at large, we have to pretty much drop what we're doing if we're handling a code case and go, try to contain that dog safely. Sometimes it takes a couple officers to get out there because they're running from us. So, but animal control is a priority to us. This is our Facebook page, yes. So we post our impounds on this page. So anytime we pick up a dog or a cat, it goes on the Facebook page.
We've had a couple of dogs that we've been able to have one of your officers come out and check them for a chip. Mm-hmm. And at one time, they were out really quickly. They must have been in our area. And the car comes very slowly down the street. That was the owner looking for the dogs who got out through the fence. Is there a charge to the owner when you guys have to pick up a dog and take it wherever you're going to take it?
So when we do pick up a dog, and if they're not a repeat offender, we do try to give them a courtesy and return the dog, and we'll give them a warning. Say, hey, if we pick up your dog again, you're liable to get a citation. We do enforce the city tags and the spay and neuter ordinance that we have. So we follow up on them to make sure that that is happening. If we get a dog and it's down at the Halifax Humane Society, they have their own fees set to charge if they want to pick up their animal from Halifax Humane Society. Or New Hope in DeLand is who we also contract with. So if we bring in an animal there and the owner goes and picks it up, they have their own fees set for the owner to come and pay. But we do charge a return to owner fee.
We have been finding a lot of pets with no identification, nothing on the collar, with a tag, or even microchip. Microchip is getting really popular now. It's more common, but we pick up so many dogs every day and no microchip, nothing on the pet that we can get him home. And that's our job. We try to get him home, without having to take him to the Humane Society, because that could take, the Humane Society hours. When are they open? When can the animal owner pick up the animal at the Humane Society? And we try to work with them. But of course, a repeat offender, we keep doing this. No, then we move into the citation and there's a fine. And that goes through the county courthouse.
And most of the animals that we do pick up are intact. They're not spayed or neutered. And so that's very important. We try to encourage the citizens that we do have spay and neuter ordinance and that they need to abide by that, because it's probably 98% of our dogs we pick up are not fixed, and that can help with not letting them run around. But like he said, we'll pick up a dog and we'll scan it for a microchip, and yay, it has a chip, but it's not registered. So we run into that a lot. So, and then you can't locate the owner if it's not registered. So it makes our jobs a little bit easier, and they don't talk to us, so we need that information. And then, you know, it's time down at Halifax if the owner's not on Facebook, or, you know, they don't know where their dog is, and now the dog's sitting at Halifax for, you know, 2, 3 days, 4 days until the owner gets there, and that's more fees added to it. So it helps to have that information on the pet. We do handle wildlife. We only go out for sick or injured wildlife if they're healthy. You know, if you have a healthy animal on your pool patio, we'll go out and help remove it and relocate it, you know, throw it in the grass or something. But we typically only go out for sick or injured. We work with Florida Wild and DeLand, and they take the sick or injured wildlife for us during business hours. After hours, we don't have anywhere to take it. So unfortunately, we can't go out for sick or injured wildlife after hours because we don't have anywhere to take it. We'll try to go out if, you know, you have a venomous snake in your house or something. You know, there's certain circumstances that we will go out, you know, as far as that for wildlife is concerned after hours. But these are some of the critters that we helped along the way. This hawk was stuck to a rat trap. It was a glue rat trap. And I guess he was trying to get a rat that was on there, and he got himself stuck to it. That was pretty sad. That sandhill crane, I think that was the one that had an arrow through its side, so we had FWC out. And then the baby little raccoon. So
we've
only if
always
sick or
done it.
injured. We've always done it.
Yeah.
Because I called about a sick, was it possum or raccoon?
Yeah,
And we'll respond.
yeah, those.
And you knew that it was,
Yeah, that's a sign of distemper. It's not really severe, but still, it shouldn't stay out there.
well, it died.
It died.
Anyway, but you guys, when I called, I was told that code compliance did not do wild animals.
Was that in the daytime?
Yes.
Daytime.
Was it
Okay.
on the weekend?
Walk their dog in the morning.
Was it on the weekend? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Well, we'll try to, sometimes, because let's just say after hours here at city, like on the weekend, for example, the city hall dispatch is not available, so we rely on the sheriff's office dispatcher to give us those calls. They might not be as, you know, educated on those type of calls that we can go out with, and I apologize for that, but we do go when it comes to sick or injured during the working hours.
Because I've been passing along the wrong information, that you guys did not
Right.
do wild.
No, we do during business hours, sick or injured. But if it's on the weekend and it goes through that central dispatch where the sheriff's office, they're probably telling you the truth that, yeah, we won't go because it's the weekend, because the facility is closed for us to take it anywhere. We handle, let's see, what's this next slide? Oh, whoops. Venomous snake, where's the venomous? Oh, venomous snakes, yeah. So we do handle venomous reptiles. We have a gentleman in DeLand. It's a serpentarium. He's open to the public. It's a fantastic little place. He milks the venomous snakes for the venom, you know, for the anti-venom.
Barden.
Yeah, what's that? Barden?
Mark Barden?
His name is Carl. Yeah. It's a really cool facility. You can tour it. You can watch the program where he milks the snake if you have little kids or grandkids. But he takes our venomous snakes and our venomous reptiles. We had a tegu lizard that was illegal to have, and he took that. FWC got involved, and they ended up taking it to their facility. But so we do handle venomous snakes. Alligators, we'll handle alligators under a certain size. It has to be 4 foot or smaller. So if you have an alligator show up in your pool, you can give us a call. I like alligators. But again, you know, if it's larger than 4 foot, FWC gets involved and they will go out. We'll be there and make sure nobody's, you know, going to handle it or try to touch it or anything like that. But they'll send one of their folks out to contain the animal. So, any more questions on wildlife or alligators? And then I think it's just questions time.
Is it $1,500 cumulative?
I'm waiting for the reply back, and
Or per incident?
it is per incident. For every time we take out the contract to go out there and clean that up, it has to be. Now, the one that you just mentioned, yes, we go in out there to clean up the property. The contractor charges $575, and we added $250 fee. There is a lien on that property at 1970 Lead River, and that's what the amount of that lien is for. But I'll send an officer also to check out an electrical pole, the lighting system. If it's not, if it's just laying on the ground, it shouldn't be like that. Is that right? Well, we'll have them check it out just to make sure, to see if it's a code violation or not. Yes, sir. Don? I keep forgetting about the mic.
Don's here from the city.
I'll come up front. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't want you to get a kink in your
From our
neck.
housing department. He's here to help with questions
Yes, hello.
about tarp
My name
roofs.
is Don Hoppe. I am with the housing department. And I have a question and a comment. I'll just make my comment with the housing department. And Greg here, Greg Jones is my coworker as well. So you had mentioned, I believe, with seniors that live in Deltona, they're on a fixed income. So one of the things we have in place, if a resident gets into a pickle whereby they get extracted from code compliance to come before magistrate or whatnot, we have a roof grant program. So let's say you're on a fixed income, a senior. I can't afford, a $15,000, $20,000 roof. Well, we have income qualifiable programs in housing. So that's one thing you can mention to your friends, or if you know of someone in your community that doesn't have the financial means, they can contact us here at Housing, and they'll go through that application process. And if they income qualify, chances are, we can help with that repair. So if whether it's a blue tarp or whatever happened to the roof, there are options out there. So just remember that. Feel free, if you know of some people, or spread the word out there, that's an option. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And then the question I had, not being a Deltona resident, don't throw things at me. No tomatoes. I have nothing against Deltona. I love it. I work here. I live in Sanford, though. So, but as a Sanford, let's say I'm visiting a friend during the week that lives in resides in Deltona. Let's say I'm going home and I see that injured sandhill crane or raccoon or whatnot, maybe hobbling, or a wing on a bird injured. So I can, as a Sanford resident, I can still call code compliance?
Yeah, for animal control, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure, just in
Can we
case.
cover a little bit about sandhill cranes?
As far as they're being protected animals and
Maybe just leave them on site depending on the type of injury?
right. And if we do get calls for sandhill cranes, we will go out there and address it, because here's the thing with those birds, as you know, they're arrogant and they're going to be just walking along, not worrying about a car, right? So if you see one and it's holding up its leg or it's dragging its wing, it may have been injured, and it's a healed injury. And we'll go out there and try to get it to maneuver and fly and try to run. If it can fly and it can run away from us, we leave them alone. Because if we're trying to catch a sandhill crane with a broken leg, we're going to cause more damage with that bird by trying to throw a net over it, wrangle it, get the net off, and squeeze it into our dog boxes. So with that being said, for sandhill cranes, we will go out. We want to know those calls. But if we can, we try to leave them alone, because their bones heal. It's like us. If we have a bone that's broken, it will heal. It might look a little funky on them, but they can still survive and still thrive out there in that condition as a healed bone. So we do try to leave those.
And during that period of time, from the moment we pick them up to we take them to the location, the stress level is overwhelming when it comes to sandhill cranes. That they can't handle that, and most of the time, we have to. If we pick one up, we have to immediately go from that point to whoever we're going to take it to, the rehabber or to veterinary office in the land, because the stress level for them it's unbelievable, and they don't make it most of the time. So that's why we kind of hesitant. We evaluate that sandhill crane. If it's injured, it could be an old injury or a new injury, but if it's still eating, it still can move, most of the time we're just going to leave them alone for and kind of keep track of that bird, because the status might change within a couple of days. Once it changes, and it's hard to catch one.
Yes.
You know, and they're still
Not
healthy.
easy. They are quick, believe it or not.
They're quick, and that beak is very dangerous, and we have to be very cautious when it comes to that. So I've done a lot of those. Any other questions? We appreciate your coming out here.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And, I mean, we got some brochures. We have some door hangers. Some, you know, we can you can take with you. You have somebody, you might need some of this information. And we appreciate housing coming here because we do have a lot of, after these storms, guess what? We deal with a lot of blue tarps on roofs. You know, there's a reason why the tarp's on that roof, because most likely there's damage to the structure. We don't want it to get worse. We address it as code. We work with the residents as much as we can, and housing can also help with that. So we try to help as much as possible. Our ultimate, you know, what we really want is voluntary compliance from the residents. We don't want to be punitive, but a lot of times that's where we have to go. That's the route we have to take. Well, thank you again for coming. We also have another presentation at 5:30 to 6:30. That'll be the other supervisor, making him come on today for that one. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.